All right, so stop me if this goes off the rails. Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Gears of War 5 creator Coalition, along with Microsoft, has announced that they're going to be cutting all references to smoking and tobacco because it gives the game a bad image. This is a game, Gears of War, the series itself, something I'm a huge fan of, that glorifies violence, that uses a gun with a chainsaw at the end of it to saw enemies in half, is cutting ties to smoking because it's bad for your health. And apparently protagonists in games who are the main character smoking, it may look cool to kids and may entice them to pick up a cigarette or a Juul or a cigar down the road, and they don't want that. But that's like saying they're gonna remove the chainsaw gun in Gears of War because they don't want people killing other people. According to a Variety report, the Truth Initiative, which is an anti-smoking organization, approached Microsoft and the Coalition, the creators of Gears 5 and the series itself, that is working directly with the E-League of Turner Sports Digital. This E-League is going to have exclusive rights to be broadcasting Gears when it launches in September. The game that features blood and guts and explosions and sawing people in half, and gunfire and chainsaws and everything Gears of War offers to the viewer, the end user, the gamer themselves, is removing all references to tobacco because drugs are bad, tobacco's bad for your health, it could kill you. But here's the thing, they had a big trailer for Gears 5 at E3 2019, and it wasn't any gameplay. It was just all these fireworks and pyrotechnics and all these flashy lights and everything going on, but then they just showed video clips of what the game is going to be without actual gameplay. Because of that, it looked like the game itself wasn't going to have a fantastic launch like a lot of people, including myself, had expected. And this controversy, in a way, is sparking up more debate and discussion about the game than E3 did for it, which is just crazy to think this day and age that some sort of viral campaign of removing smoking from a game is causing everyone to talk about said game. But even though that might not have been their intention, it's exactly what's happening here. But if you take a step back and look at the entire Gears series, smoking has never been a big part of it in the first place. It was always kind of like a side thing that during a cutscene they might light up a cigarette in the background while they're talking, and just kind of adding to the aura, the atmosphere, the environment of doomsday and we're all gonna die, so who the hell cares type situation with Gears of War. And if you look at who the main protagonist was that was smoking, it was Michael, who was portrayed as like a crazy guy anyways. So the impact of someone smoking as a character was a crazy guy. So people playing the game, would they want to emulate the crazy guy smoking? I just have a really hard time trying to make a connection with the craziest guy of the COG bunch smoking cigarettes during cutscenes, and that somehow directly correlates to a youth playing a video game, which, by the way, it's a mature game, not for anyone, but just in case a youth had been walking by and seeing it. Seeing the crazy guy smoking and making them feel like, ooh, I want to be a crazy guy smoking. That's literally the same thing as saying this person's going to go straight to Walmart and buy a gun because they see these guys having guns in Gears of War. Do I feel like the removal of all references to tobacco in Gears of War is a good thing or a bad thing? Ultimately, I think it's a bad thing. Do I like smoking? No, I hate smoking. I hate the smell of it. I don't like the idea of it. I think it's truly damaging to the body, but I also think people should be able to make their decision and do whatever the hell they want to do to their body within reason, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. The problem I have with this is removing any references to tobacco is kind of a slippery slope in video games. Are they forging ahead, blazing a new path for everybody else to follow? Because there is something to be said about adding cigarettes to a realistic game that deals with kind of real drama, even though, yeah, it's crazy aliens that aren't realistic at all. But the actual situations, the emotions, the drama that they feel in the situations truly feels like it's an world-ending apocalypse type situation that realistically most likely isn't going to happen on planet Earth, but there might be a world-ending catastrophe, and this is something that they add to the game to make it feel very real, very raw, very I don't give a crap anymore because I need to put my life on the line and I don't care about what the long-term effects of smoking is going to do to me. The problem is I see it twofold because yes, people who glamorize smoking, it's been shown time and time again throughout history that people will pick up on smoking if they see their heroes doing it, if they think it's cool and hip to do. And now we see Juuls coming in and all these kids these days picking up Juuls and thinking that it's the coolest thing, even though it's been shown to be awful for your health and extremely addictive. It's the cool and hip thing to do. So I get why there's a push against it, but in this case, I feel like it's going a little bit too far. As far as the head of Gears 5 and the Coalition, Rod Ferguson, the studio head, said, "To be fair, this isn't entirely accurate. I've been against smoking from the beginning and have worked hard to not make it a part of our franchise. Ever notice that the Dizzy concept art for Gears 2 has a cigarette, but the actual character in-game doesn't? I stopped it." And then he goes on to say, "My dad smoked. He died of a heart attack at age 38. I was 4. So this directly impacted the studio head of the Coalition. But he's making an apocalyptic game about the world ending and aliens coming down and needing to be saved. And he's trying to make a political statement about cigarettes in that. It's a really weird dynamic, and it's truly hard for me to wrap my head around this kind of justification. It's an M-rated game. You're allowed to smoke cigarettes. Are they good for you? No. Everyone knows cigarettes are bad for you. At least I'd like to think that. But for the most part, everyone who's smoking is doing it of age, they're mature enough to do so, and while I'd love to see smoking get eliminated in the future, I still believe that people should have the right to do whatever they want to. But changing a video game and removing cigarettes, removing tobacco references, just to make a point against cigarettes, it feels a little bit manufactured. It feels like they're trying to create some sort of media coverage about this game because they certainly weren't doing that at E3. And it seems to be working. I just can't wrap my head around a game that uses a gun with a chainsaw to cut an enemy in half is saying they need to remove tobacco references because those are bad for your health. It's just a really loose connection. It's a stretch. And at the end of the day, I don't like the direction that kind of political statement is making because I worry about slippery slopes. I worry about other game companies saying, well, hey, the Coalition removed cigarettes from their game. Maybe the next Metal Gear should remove cigarettes from Snake. Maybe they should remove any kind of alcohol references in Max Payne. Maybe they should remove any kind of bad things in a video game because, oh no, what about the children? What are they going to do? If they can't see these things, they won't buy these things. They won't get any of these bad things in their life and they'll just be good guys. Except they're playing games surrounding themselves around killing people and trying to justify it as it's okay, they're good guys, and as long as they're not killing the other good guys, it's not a bad thing, so we're okay with that. It's conflicting information that ultimately creates a paradox of what's right and wrong, what's okay in a video game and what's not, and honestly, it's a battle that really doesn't need to be fought unless you're trying to make a point about something. Ultimately, I think it's a bad thing. I feel like smoking and cigarettes and tobacco, while not good for people, do have their place in video games, especially specific types of video games, and trying to make a political point or a personal point because your father passed away from lung cancer, even though you're creating a game, you're the head of a studio, it truly takes away from the atmosphere of that game, even if it's extremely subtle, especially if you've shown it in the previous Gears games. If smoking was never a part of the series, it would make a little bit more sense, but having it in the series and then removing it now, it just feels like there's an agenda, and that doesn't really belong in video games in the first place. It should be made for the entertainment of the gamer at large, people who want to experience these atmospheric trips that take them away from reality, but now we're trying to inject our political views as part of a video game because we don't want people seeing people smoke because they'll buy cigarettes. I just don't really see a connection there. I hate smoking. I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's awful. It smells gross. It's bad for you. I love Gears games. I love when they go into their storylines and show these characters depicting them smoking and talking about situations because it feels raw. It feels real. It doesn't make me want to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. That kind of correlation is disgusting. It doesn't give your customers any kind of credit for being able to make a decision on their own. At least that's how I feel about this situation. But as always, I would love to hear where you guys stand on this issue. Let me know in the comments, are you for or against the removal of tobacco in Gears of War 5? Do you think this is a ludicrous situation? Or from the perspective of the creator, does it make sense because they have some personal history with their father passing away? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing.
Smash, Smash,